So welcome, dear friends. We are officially starting our webinar about Pluto in Aquarius, the new era, the new possibilities, the new surprises, what to expect. And I want to tell you in advance that this topic is pretty intense. Pluto's energy is the most powerful, the deepest, the most transformational. So if you are watching us live or if you're watching the recording, I can recommend you to just allow yourself to center a little bit and to open up for this energy, for the information. Because even in this process, you may get something important as an idea, as an insight, a different perspective. And it will be pretty interesting. So the main things we will focus on today. Pluto entered Aquarius literally a few days ago. And obviously this is a big deal because Pluto is very slow and Pluto will stay there for approximately 20 years. So things are shifting and it's long-term, but most importantly, it's very, very deep. So I will bring a different perspective in terms of what we can expect on a more collective social level, but also how to understand the importance and the role of Pluto in Aquarius for yourself and your chart and your life. I will give you some guidelines and suggestions what to look at. Also, I will give you a general perspective for the next 2 years. Pluto will stay in Aquarius for 20 years. But from now to, map things for the next 20 years, that's a task for another time, let's say it this way. Today, we will focus mostly on the near future, the future which is literally in front of us and what we can expect. I will give you also some suggestions how to use the Pluto energy, especially if Pluto will affect you, especially if Pluto will be active in your chart. This will be also very important. Hello to everyone from everywhere. You can share where you are joining us from, live or later when you watch the recording. And also, I will share with you a new project which I'm creating for all of us, which is a new flow of the MarStars Astrology Academy, plus a community. So you will learn more about this at the end, but honestly, I was considering to do this at another time, but somehow that's just the flow and how things go. It happens now. And I realized actually today that it's not a coincidence that right now came the time for this project as well. Because one of the most important themes related to Pluto in Aquarius is about the communities and the groups that we belong to. I will talk more about it, but I want to offer you something also as not only a support, but also a place for growth. That's the main purpose. Place for growth and also mutual support. But again, more on that towards the end. So Pluto, let's just start with Pluto in general. What does Pluto represent? Pluto is the smallest planet and yet the most powerful. It's, first of all, a collective planet, which means that it's not so easy for us to process it directly. And we have different levels of perception and ability to process this energy. That applies to the 3 outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, but even more, I would say, for Pluto. Because this is also the planet related to the deepest layer of our subconscious. First of all, on a collective level, as Carl Jung has described this collective subconsciousness and all the archetypes, all the scenarios that collectively we have and personally we are also experiencing, all of that is about Pluto. Pluto is also about the deepest resources and most powerful resources. For example, oil, everything that you can find under the ground. Everything there is ruled by Pluto. Diamonds, you name it. And from one side, what that means is that, and nothing is a coincidence. I mean, in all of those things, we can find insights and important ideas. And the most important here is that, first of all, Pluto's treasures are hidden. They are not visible on the surface. And we should know that in general. So we need, first of all, to dig deeper in order to find them. And also we need to be prepared to process this. Because resources which are too intense and too powerful can be also dangerous if we don't know how to work with them. So Pluto's power is the deepest one, but also it's hidden. So don't forget about this, that you need to dig deeper to find it. From another perspective also, we can explore how Pluto works on different levels. And this will be especially important with the upcoming changes. Actually, they're not upcoming, they're already current changes with Pluto moving in Aquarius. Because the truth is that it may work in many different ways on many different levels for us as a collective and also for each one of us as individuals. And I would say that here probably to predict how it will work on a collective level will be even more difficult. For individuals, it's kind of easier because we have a chart and we can explore the chart, we can understand from there. But for the whole humanity and the collective, it's a question and there are options. And in order to know where to look at, what to be prepared for, it will be helpful to also explore briefly how Pluto works on different levels. Because again, that's important for the collective, but also for us as individuals. There are 3 main levels, or you may also say 3 different worlds. We have the material world, the world of the forms, the physical world, the visible world, the world that is around us. We have an emotional level, the level of feelings, which is deeper and it's personalized. And we also have the spiritual level. And each planet can work on those 3 levels and the expression will be completely different. So that applies even more to the outer planets, by the way, and especially Pluto. If we use Pluto's energy only on a physical level, only on a material level, and I will connect this to Pluto in Aquarius in a moment, but for now, I'm just giving you the logic and the foundation. If we use Pluto only on this material objective level, it's bringing lots of energy, lots of power, but very often you may notice that it's also unneeded. It's too much. Pluto likes this. Pluto likes things to be intense and to bring too much of something. So if we stay on this level, if we use the energy only on this material, physical level, the problem might be that there could be something excessive, too much energy or uncontrollable desires, or it could be sometimes desire for power, desire to have control. And it's not a level where Pluto can be constructive if we are not connected to the other levels. So on a physical level, Pluto makes things extreme. Pluto makes them too intense and brings too much, like unnecessary things, energy, amount of something. And on this level, Pluto can be destructive. That's the truth. If we use Pluto only on a physical material level, the energy, the reason for that is because the energy is too powerful. It's too strong. And if we are in certain way immature, it can become destructive for us. On the next level, the emotional level, Pluto also brings intensity, but it's even more related to our desires. For example, we may desperately want something, or we might be desperately or really passionate about something. And it's not necessarily bad. It can be sometimes, again, too much and inadequate and basically too much drama, which is Pluto's specialty, especially on this level. But on certain level, this can also be higher motivation, like extreme passion for something and commitment. Again, in a moment, we'll connect all of this to Pluto in Aquarius, but for now, just in general. So passion, desire, intensity. If it's, again, too much or also not very constructive, it can be too much drama. It can be desire also for emotional control, for power, and so on. So even on an emotional level, the expression can be higher, but we still need to be careful. It can still be, I would say, stronger than us. And that's the thing, that Pluto is stronger than the individual. So if we are approaching this just from this, very personalized perspective without the higher idea or mindset or purpose, Pluto can be too much for us. We might be unable to process this energy, and we will either waste it or create some kind of drama around us just to, waste, to get rid of this energy. But there is another level where things get really interesting, and that's the highest level, the spiritual level. The truth is that we are not all prepared to process Pluto on this level. But if we are, that's where the real magic happens. That's where we can get to insights and understandings like nothing else. That's how, on an energy level, we can achieve, I would say, the highest levels of transformation. And this topic will be especially interesting while Pluto is in Aquarius. Again, I will talk about it in a moment. But if we can manage this level, the spiritual level, the transformations that Pluto can offer us can allow us to have real control over our own life. That's a bit of a paradox. On a lower level, where we are, let's call it, energetically and spiritually immature, Pluto's energy is too strong and too much for us. And we can't process it. And it controls us. When we are developed as personalities or even as individuals, then Pluto can serve us. No, maybe that's not the best expression, because even in this process, the truth is that we are serving something higher. But at the same time, we also have control. And it all starts with the mind. The mind and our focus. So Pluto can bring us, I would say, the most interesting and deepest insights, especially for people who are interested in having more control over their own life, over themselves. And the truth is that there also needs to be some kind of engagement with others. It could be your community, it could be some kind of group you belong to, it could be some kind of collective. But without it, Pluto cannot express, it cannot bring all of its gifts. And especially when Pluto will be in Aquarius, because Aquarius is a collective sign as well. So Pluto is a collective planet, which means that it's related to very general, big processes that affect the whole humanity. And Aquarius as a sign is also a collective sign. For example, Capricorn, where we used to have Pluto until a few days ago, literally, Capricorn is not a collective sign. It's a social sign, yes, but not a collective one. Aquarius is a sign of the collectives. So from that point of view, we can expect very big, drastic changes in our society, in generally the order, how things happen. But for us as individuals, also the role of those groups will play even more significant role. And here, there is one simple logic, by the way. I'm pretty sure that you have all heard this saying that you are what your 5 closest friends are, or they have the most important impact on you, or basically the idea of the importance of other people we surround ourselves with. It's a cliche, I know, but there is so much truth in that, because the truth is that the energies that are within us are the energies that can be activated. So, for example, if in certain situation we feel whatever, sad, devalued, hurt, it means that we do have this energy within us. Otherwise, it can't be triggered. But depending on the environment and the groups that we belong to, we can also have certain control over ourselves, because different people will trigger different things within us. So it's not a cliche. I mean, it is a cliche, but it is also true that the groups, the communities that we belong to are basically triggering different parts of ourselves. And that's basically changing our life. So this is always true. But now with Pluto in Aquarius, we will notice even more this role and the importance of the groups and the collectives. And one of my first recommendations for you is to be very mindful of the groups that you belong to, and to be brave enough to make some changes in this area. If you know that you belong to a group that is triggering you in some kind of negative way, let's say, or is not bringing out the best of you, or you find yourself feeling whatever, destructive or less efficient, or something is not as you want it to be, don't be afraid to make changes, because it will have a drastic impact on your life and your experiences. So the first thing is, look at the current situation. What are the groups that you belong to? It could be online, it could be locally, it could be, I don't know, in any way. But what are those groups? And if you notice that something is not what you want it to be, then don't be afraid to change it. I don't remember where I read this or where I heard this, but this is, I think, a great idea. How to check if something is good for you. think about, would you want your child to have this experience? For example, the groups that you belong to, or it could apply to anything else, but would you want your kid, or if you don't have kids, the person you love the most, to have this experience? And if you wouldn't send them there or you wouldn't recommend them, then probably you shouldn't be there as well, having those experiences or interactions. So first, revisit things as they are right now. And then you can consciously make choices. So that's one of my main purposes, to create this new community so that we will have a group to grow together, to share our interests, to exchange, but most importantly, to learn and to develop. But besides that, you can look in any other direction or any other group or community that would fit you and your interests or where you want to go. Aquarius is a sign related to the future. So we can also approach it from this perspective. So first we revisit, like, where am I right now? Or what was my past? Or what is happening right now? But then don't be afraid or don't hesitate also to look into the future, or with this mindset of where you would like to be. It could be personally, spiritually, career-wise, in terms of friendships, some kind of interests. Basically, Aquarius is the sign of groups of people who share similar interests, or on a higher level, it's also similar ideals. Those are not people who are the same. Those are not people who are cut, by some kind of template. Those are developed individuals who has their own differences, but they have a mutual interest or ideal. That's the highest expression of Aquarius. And with Pluto moving into Aquarius, we can look into this direction. Honestly, I'm not ready to say that this will apply to the whole humanity, at least for now. Hopefully, we will all develop, we will all make the next step. So I'm not confident that now we are all at this level as humanity. But for certain individuals, for sure. And honestly, if you're watching this, I'm pretty sure that it applies to you and it would make sense to you. So think from this perspective. Speaking of the collectives and different people, same people, boxes, and all of that, collective energies on a lower level, the first expression is to try to make everyone the same. That's the truth, because on certain level, it provides survival. And Pluto, by the way, is very much connected also to our instincts and our ability to survive. So on certain level, for some people, in some experiences, there might be this impulse or kind of like a trend that, we are all like the masses, kind of like to blend. Again, that's the lower expression, where the individual doesn't matter, the differences are, pushed away. We should all follow this trend or whatever, something. But on a higher level, when we are already developed, we are ready for this, it shifts to basically the opposite polarity, where the individuals are more than welcome, which means people with developed sun energy, the opposite sign of Leo, which reminds me about something else. I will share it in a moment about the sun in Aquarius. But on a higher level, that's what also comes up as a possibility and option for us to keep our individuality, our uniqueness, and actually even to contribute to the collective from our individual perspective. But again, mutual interest, or I would say the mutual ideal, is really, really important. That's what connects people on this level. I was also going to say about Leo and the sun. In astrology, we have one general principle that one axis, or basically two opposite signs, are always working in some kind of a balance. So whenever the Aquarius energy is triggered, which of course will be with Pluto there, it immediately activates the energy of Leo. So look from this perspective as well, that the role of the individual or our identity is also really important, and the place we can find in groups, societies, communities. So we need to keep both of those focuses in order, to find this balance, so that we don't push away one of the polarities into the shadow, which sometimes happens. So to keep the focus on developing the sun energy, which means our uniqueness, who we really are, our deepest potential, this is also, I would say, a deeper, probably we can say also more advanced possibility that is provided for us, for those who are ready, I would say. So the Leo energy is also very, very active, which means that we have more chances, possibilities, options to uncover something deeper within us, to find who we really are, to find our own uniqueness, to find our own purpose. If we have a mission, perhaps even that too. But all of this will happen in the dynamic between Leo and Aquarius. So the point here is that it's not time to isolate ourselves if we want, to really master this Leo Aquarius energy. So even if your focus, your primary focus is to uncover your potential, to find your strengths, to get to know yourself better, I would say very adequate, very healthy goals or desires. But even if that's your main priority, the way to do that now is through the Aquarius energy, which means also through interactions with other people, through those groups, through those collectives, through some kind of ideal that brings you together with others. Through that, you will get closer to your sun, which is, I think, probably the most precious thing and most important. Okay. Next, how to understand the importance for us individually, so more personally. First of all, I would recommend you to check your natal Pluto, and specifically to which generation do you belong. So, for example, for people who belong to the Pluto in Leo generation, it will be one thing. If you have Pluto in Virgo or Libra or Scorpio and Sagittarius and so on, the influence will be different. So that's the first hint. If you belong to the generation of people with Pluto in Leo or in Scorpio, this period, this 20-year period, is demanding more transformations, more work, and some kind of more radical shifts, because it means that the transiting Pluto in Aquarius will have a square with your Pluto if your Pluto is in Scorpio, or opposition if your Pluto is in Leo. So for those two generations, Pluto in Scorpio, Pluto in Leo, this 20-year period will be the most dynamic, the most intense, speaking again collectively, but also personally as well. For the others, for example, for Libra, generation of people with Pluto in Libra, this is a time when things may shift, I would say, in the direction of some kind of relief. Why is that? Because while Pluto was in Capricorn, Pluto has squared their natal Pluto. So for them, the past 15 years, more or less, have been more intense, more maybe sometimes dramatic or very transformational. So for them now, things are shifting. And Pluto in Aquarius will trine the natal Pluto in Libra. So something is supposed to go in a different direction, in different way, without that much intensity. So if you are from the people with Pluto in Libra generation, you need to look also in the direction of making things a bit more easier for yourself. And you don't need that much push. If you are Pluto in Scorpio, Pluto in Leo, it's kind of the opposite. You need more push now. You need more strength, more intensity, more transformations. Pluto in Virgo, there will be a quincunx. So it's a dynamic combination. At first, it can be more like a square. So at first, your experience might be more dynamic, more drastic, something more intense. Over time, it may shift into something, I would say, softer, something easier. Well, easy is maybe too much to say for Pluto. With Pluto, I'm not sure we can ever use this word, but kind of smoother, kind of smoother. And Pluto in Sagittarius, also more harmonious influence and kind of like learning to find your power, but not through too much intensity and too much stress. So that's the first thing. Again, just by looking at your natal Pluto and the year you were born, you can get a general idea. Based on that, we can't make like huge conclusions, but it's one thing to consider. The next thing, which is more personalized, is to check your natal planets and to see, while Pluto is transiting Aquarius, which of your natal planets will be triggered and in what way. And that is probably the most important thing. Of course, if you have planets in Aquarius, that's the most important thing. I can share, I have a lot of experience with Pluto. Pluto is very strong in my natal chart. Pluto is very strong, very strong in my progressions now. So I'm very much on this wave. And also I have 3 planets in Capricorn, Sun, Neptune, and Mercury. So basically during the past 15 years, Pluto passed through my stellium. And those are changes like no others. Like this is very deep. And not everyone has such experiences during their lifetime because Pluto is very slow. Pluto's cycle is around 250 years, plus minus a couple of years. So during a normal human life, not everyone will have, for example, Pluto in conjunction with their sun. But my point is that if you have planets in Aquarius, those will be the most important years, the years that will bring the deepest transformations, especially if those planets are personal, like the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars. Of course, the Sun is the most important, but the others are also deep and very significant. So if you have personal planets in Aquarius, then those 20 years will be major and extremely transformative for you. The other signs which will be also affected the most are Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus. If you have planets there, they will be triggered by Pluto with tough aspects, with dynamic aspects. In Leo, there will be opposition, Scorpio and Taurus square. This also indicates the need for some very, very deep changes. And depending on your planet, the signs, the houses, like the general picture of your chart, you will find out more. But the first thing is to check how many planets, if you have any, you have in those signs. So first Aquarius, like the highest priority, then Leo, then Taurus and Scorpio. Those are the signs that will feel the deepest transformations on the most intense level. What about the other signs? Libra and Gemini. Those are, I would say, the luckiest, because Pluto will have a trine with your planets there. And again, any planet that is there will be affected. Of course, the more planets you have, the more important this time will be for you. But Pluto making harmonious aspects can be very, very empowering. And here, we need to be mindful, because nothing is just this or that. Things are very mixed. So even if we have a trine, it still requires transformation. We still need to do something. We are still going through some kind of process. Pluto is not the moon or Jupiter or Neptune. Pluto requires very, very deep work and change. So if you have planets also in Libra or Gemini, I think that you should also go for this change. You should embrace this transformation, because it can be also very, very beneficial. But it doesn't mean that it will be like a walk on the beach or like extremely easy. Because with Pluto, it's always about becoming stronger and more empowered. And this process is not about the beach, for good or for bad, I don't know. The other signs, I want to make sure I will not forget. The sextiles, so Sagittarius and Aries. So if you have planets in Sagittarius or Aries, the influence will also be, we can say, kind of smoother. You're also supposed to go through some transformations, but usually it feels more like you are in control of this process. Again, based on my very personal experience, when Pluto was making conjunction with my planets in Capricorn, the changes were so deep, and it really felt like, at least for a while, like something uncontrollable, like something which is stronger than me, something that at times it was scary, like it was really, really intense. But right now, or recently actually, I had sextiles, Pluto with my Venus, Mars, and Moon at the same time. And I should tell you that even the sextiles felt like something very, very important. And we should not neglect those aspects, especially when it comes to Pluto. So if Pluto is going to make sextile with your planets, again, those are the cases with Sagittarius and Aries, this is also very important. From my experience also, the difference was like I'm a little bit more in control. Like it's still deep, it's still very intense. At times, it may also be difficult. But there is like a different vibe, or I don't know how exactly to describe it, but it does feel a bit softer. So the sextiles are also gonna have their own type of experience. Capricorn and Pisces are just minor aspects. So those signs are not that triggered for now. And the quincunxes are from Aquarius, so with Virgo and with Cancer. Virgo and Cancer, if you have planets there, it means that Pluto will have a quincunx with those planets. And the quincunx is a complicated aspect, which, even more interestingly, in its nature, it's also a Plutonian aspect. Especially the one which is the left one, the 8th house Pluto connection. Just a second to visualize it, to tell you which of the signs is that. Is it Virgo or... So Pluto is in Aquarius. With Virgo. Pluto with in Aquarius with Virgo is this type of quincunx, which is more the 8th house quincunx. So it's also very, very transformational. So if you have planets in Virgo, but even in Cancer, so for both of the signs, you will have a quincunx. At first, the energy can be more turbulent and dynamic, a bit like the square aspect. It can shake you, it can bring something more unexpected or something that requires lots of power and energy. But over time, this can shift. So the dynamic is changing. So for Virgo and Cancer also, interesting times. Okay. What are the things that also define the level or how we are going to process Pluto and what we should develop? If you are going to have, for example, Pluto transits, or it could be in any other method. For example, you have some progressions or Pluto is affecting you. Pluto is triggering your chart. What are the important things in order to be able to experience the energy on the higher level? First of all, it's the Sun, then Saturn, and then Uranus. What does it mean? The Sun is our individuality, so we need to stay connected to this. So we don't blend and we are not kind of like taken away by some kind of collective energies. So a strong identity and individuality is also very important. Why we need Saturn? We need to have a well-developed personality with some kind of boundaries, not the type of boundaries that isolate you and make you want to avoid any change and anything, you know, as a experience coming from the outside, but it's like the inner foundation and inner stability that you can change and transform, but you are not losing yourself in the middle of this process. That's the balance we need. And finally, Uranus. In order for Pluto to work constructively, we need Uranus as the symbol of our ideal. So if you want to use this energy in a more constructive way, if you want to process it better, you need also to work well with Uranus, which means you need to have some kind of higher ideal. There isn't a right or wrong ideal here. It should not, I'm not saying that, you know, for everyone, this should be astrology or personal transformation or whatever. Like, it's about you and your choice and your own ideal, basically. But when we have higher ideal that we are kind of committing to, we are dedicated to, we are ready to serve this, then Pluto works in a completely different way. And again, that's especially true right now because Pluto is in the sign of Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus. So I think that this will really kind of like divide us into two general groups. I mean, collectively, in terms of how we are going to process Pluto in Aquarius energy. Do you have a higher ideal or not? And I'm not sure that everyone is ready for this. I mean, there are people who are just not ready, and that's okay. But if we don't have a higher ideal, we are gonna be more like together with the masses and a bit blended. Those people who have some kind of higher ideal, and again, it's not about particular higher ideal, it's your thing. But if you are connected to this, Pluto's energy will work completely different, in a completely different way. So try to think about it right now. Maybe you have your answer ready. Maybe not right away, but I would highly recommend you, especially right now, because we are in the very beginning of this important period. And also the sun just moved to Aquarius. And I mean, the energy is like fresh and kind of burning. So it's a really great time to think about this. If you don't have an answer right now, or maybe it's not concrete, or think about it, like, what is this important ideal important for you that you are ready to commit to, or to serve, or to follow? Follow is a very good word in terms of, Aquarius, to follow something in the future. And try to think both ways. So something collective as an ideal, and it could also be something about yourself. So both, but especially the collective one is right. And here, it doesn't mean that we are all supposed to save the world. Some of us maybe, others not. And when we talk about groups and communities, it doesn't mean that those should be like, I don't know, 5,000 people or 1,000,000 people, or your group of people might be 5 people, and that is fine. Or it could be 3 people, or it could be 30 people. But try to look a little bit outside of just yourself. And what is some kind of ideal that you are ready to, again, serve, and it will be kind of like your guidance. This is, I think, one of the most important things with Pluto in Aquarius. Some of the things to be mindful, or in other words, also careful of. Pluto and Aquarius can both be very extreme. So some kind of extremism, some kind of unnecessary intensity is possible, especially in the beginning. So usually the first few months or 1 year after Pluto makes an ingression into a new sign, something seems to shake the world. Important changes, and be careful not to be too radical and drastic, especially if you have planets in the first few degrees of Aquarius or the other fixed signs, Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio, because you are the first wave of people who will feel Pluto's energy. But you are also those who can channel this energy for others. So don't be afraid of that. And actually, I would say embrace that, because it will be also very beneficial for you, not just for others. But one of the main ideas is that we can really grow more when we are part of a group. And that's especially important right now, since we are moving into the era of Aquarius. When is the start of this era? That's a big question. Like, very, very technically, we are not there yet, but in reality, we are, because we feel the energy 5 degrees before that, before the actual shift. So even though technically we are still in the era of Pisces, we are actually transitioning, and I think we are about to feel more and more of the era of Aquarius. And with Pluto moving there, that's exactly where we are going. And what is the main difference? Of course, those are very big topics and very deep. But one of the main things of the era of Pisces, basically the last 2000 years, one of the most important roles was the role of Christianity and religion in general. And in Christianity, there is this general principle that through suffering, we are also growing. The saints are growing in this way. And here I'm absolutely not evaluating or judging or putting any type of labels, just as facts. Growing and suffering are together in the era of Pisces. But this is supposed to change when we move into the Aquarius era. And Aquarius is not about suffering. It's not about sacrifices. It's not about pain and all of those things. Aquarius is about those communities of people that grow together, that evolve. It's a collective evolution, which provides the evolution of the individuals that belong there. So collectively, the trend should go in this direction, to grow in different ways, without the suffering, without the torture, without the sacrifices, without the pain, without all of that. And it's interesting, it's not easy, but that's the direction. Also, something very important. Now, very quickly, what to expect during the next 2 years. So during 2024 and 2025, while Pluto is at the very beginning of the sign. Interesting that while Pluto ingressed Aquarius literally a few days ago, so 19th or 18th or something like that of January 2024, at the same time with the sun. So it's like immediately we can feel the energy in a more intense way. And towards the end, basically next month, February 24, Mars is going to move in Aquarius too. So we are also going to feel this wave that Mars will trigger. So February 24 may also be more dynamic, more interesting. We need to be careful. Pluto and Mars together can also be too intense. So there might be some kind of conflicts or too much desire. But it gets more interesting towards May and June. The end of May, the beginning of June, transiting Jupiter is moving to Gemini. And it will have a trine with Pluto, which is very, very interesting. So we may notice some kind of, first of all, political changes. Changes, again, related to society, publicity, all of those things, mass media, communication, very important, how we communicate. Gemini and Aquarius, how we connect, how we communicate. By the way, astrology is about to, I believe, skyrocket, and the interest people have will become higher and higher. With Pluto moving into Aquarius, I think that this will be an even stronger trend. It could be generally about spirituality, mystical things, you know, the deeper stuff. and astrology in particular. And June, so May, June, with Jupiter also trining Pluto, it can be very exciting and very interesting. Especially May, when we have the ingression of Jupiter. Before that, during April, we have also the conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus. So I would say that this year seems to be very, very interesting. But during May and June, focus also on something that can bring you growth, potential transformation and growth. That's Jupiter and Pluto. And also the impact on other people. This is also connected to the same combination, Jupiter and Pluto. And generally speaking, during 24, but especially during 25, we are going to have a very interesting combination. A bisextile. Actually, I will very quickly share my screen with you so that I can demonstrate easier what I mean here. This is 24. This is right now, January 20. On the 20th of January, Pluto moves to, so yesterday, Pluto moves to Aquarius together with the Sun. But what I wanted to show you is a bit ahead. Basically, it's the second half of this year of 24, and it will be even more accentuated during 25. Here is what I mean. Pluto is in Aquarius. Neptune is at the end of Pisces, about to move to Aries. And Uranus is towards the end of Taurus and about to move to Gemini. And basically, the three planets are connected with positive aspects. We will have trine between Pluto and Uranus, and both of them are in sextile with Neptune. And this combination will be on and off during the second half of 24, and it will be even more exact during 25. Because also during 25, Saturn will join Neptune. Just a moment to get to it. They will already be in Aries, actually. The middle of 25. So Pluto is in Aquarius. Neptune and Saturn are together. Before that, also the lunar node will pass there, and Uranus. So this is, I would say, a really, really special combination. So the three outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, all together in an aspect configuration, which is called bisextile. And this is a very harmonious aspect configuration. The main energy goes towards the focus. In this case, this is Neptune, and during 25, also Saturn will join there. So this is also about some kind of, it could be different changes related to psychology or some kind of healing modalities. So the three outer planets can bring also some kind of very important social changes in the collective order, in terms of communities again, and on spiritual levels, there could be also very interesting transformations. So if you have planets around those degrees, so again, I would say the end of Capricorn, the beginning of Aquarius, the end of Pisces, the beginning of Aries, and the end of Taurus, the beginning of Gemini. this is even more important to you. Collectively, it's important for all of us. And, you know, if you have any aspects with your planets, it will be even more important for you. But if they're around those degrees, then the transformations, you know, another way to say this is that you can be kind of like a channel for this transformation also to kind of like manifest for others. So you can either do something with importance for others, something that will affect other people, something that will have some kind of contribution. In other words, also you can be like the source or the channel for this change. That of course comes from another level, not from us, but can manifest through us. So we can be this kind of like connector in some way. So if you have planets there, again, I will repeat it because it's very important. The end of Capricorn, the beginning of Aquarius, the end of Pisces, the beginning of Aries, and the end of Taurus, the beginning of Gemini. If you have personal or any planets there, then my honest recommendation is to think about something bigger than yourself that you can do. Again, it doesn't mean save the whole world, but it could be something with a social impact or something that is showing other people something, or you're sharing something that you know, or your knowledge or your skill or experience, or you will find your own way. But those 2 years specifically are especially important for you. So those are the general recommendations I have about Pluto in Aquarius and the new era and the new order and the new world and how to prepare for that. One of the most important things is to be open for transformation and for something new. Pluto is always about transformation, and Aquarius is also the sign of evolution and new things and new experiences. So if you have any questions, you are welcome to ask them. And I would like to share with you the new project, the new thing. And this is like my Pluto in Aquarius thing. It's a new flow of the Astrology Academy, but this time it will be different. So it's a membership for 1 year, and it gives you access to all of my courses, including my natal astrology course, which is around 50 hours. It covers all of the foundational things you should know about astrology, plus examples of charts of famous people after each lesson. So that's all you need in order to learn the natal astrology. It includes relationship astrology, karmic astrology, and also other courses. So you get access to all of that right away. Plus, we will have regular meetings at least twice a month. Twice a month, there will be different webinars on specific topics, which will be more advanced, which will be something different and something that you cannot find in regular places, so to speak. The topics for February are already kind of like manifested in my mind. We will start with love. And honestly, only after that, I came up with this because for a while I wanted to do this webinar. And only after that, I realized, but February is also, you know, the month of love, Saint Valentine's. So it kind of, you know, it's a coincidence, but yeah, that's how it happened. So we will start with the webinar on the different ways or different expressions of love. The Moon, the Venus, and the Neptune type of love, which represent different levels of development, not only in terms of love, but also in terms of our evolution. So this is how we start. And the other topic for February is about karmic past life charts. So we will have like a workshop, we will practice, I will show you how we interpret those, how we calculate them, which is very simple, but then also we will use the time to practice together. So that's for February, but it will be ongoing. So every month we will have at least 2 of those meetings with more advanced, more specific, more, I would say, interesting topics, plus also time for your questions. So it could be about anything that you have read or listened in the main course or somewhere else, astrology related questions. So the idea here is to have a community, as I said. So we are all joining together. What we share is our interest or maybe even our love for astrology and the desire to understand better ourselves, other people, the world, the universe, and maybe even beyond that, who knows. So the idea is to have this collective together, which again happens, I think, at the best time when also Pluto has moved to Aquarius, because that's what we need the most right now. If you feel like this is something you're interested in, you are more than welcome to join us. There are some specific options also. So you can get the 1-year membership, which gives you access to all of the courses, plus the webinars every other week. But you can also have a package of which includes personal mentorship. So with everything else, you can also get additional private classes with me for 3 months, which could either be focused on exploring your chart and learning it even better, or generally learning astrology and practicing. Basically, it depends on your desires. What you need the most, that's what we focus on. And the third option, which is the most interesting, includes everything else. So the main courses, which you can watch right away, the community, the ongoing webinars during the whole year with the Q&As, the personal mentorship, astrology mentorship, plus also the GSR package, GSR sessions, Astro GSR sessions. This is a package which is for people who want to transform something in their life. They want to explore it, they want to understand it better, and most importantly, they want to change something. And it could be a focus on a particular goal that you want to achieve, or a complete, like, whole life area that you want to transform. So there are no limitations, but GSR is the method which allows us to work on an energy level and to make those inner transformations. So it's the deepest technique for personal development, which I have found. And at a certain point, I will also tell you more about this, because this is something I would recommend to absolutely everyone. So if you are ready for such a, I would say, adventure to not only learn, but also to, I would say, have control over certain life areas and transform them and move to another level. That's the idea of the third option. So if you are interested, I will actually try to find the link, because I didn't prepare it. I should have. But I will put the link later in the description under the video. Also, I will send you an email with this information. And keep in mind that for the next 2 days, there are some special bonuses and surprises, but you will find that if you are interested. I have some special gifts for those who sign first, basically during the next 2 days. So if you have any questions about Pluto in Aquarius, or what we discussed, I will be more than happy to answer your questions. Eva has commented, Of course, I will be on the receiving end of destruction. Have Leo, Saturn, Sun, Venus, and Mercury. My Node, and Uranus are in Scorpio. My Jupiter is in Taurus. Oh, wow. That's interesting. But I get the joke, yes. But this is really interesting because basically Pluto will be the 4th point, especially if you have aspects between those planets. If you have a Tau square in your chart, Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus, the 4th point, and I would say the missing point in the Tau square, in your case, it's in Aquarius. So Pluto moving there, yes, it will activate the whole dynamic. Yes, I'm not saying it will be fun and easy, but this is a time when you can also get something stabilizing, or you can also like materialize something, because we have stability and we can materialize when we have 4 points. 3 points is, I mean, 3 planets connected in a Tau square. There is a dynamic, there is a potential, there is a movement, but the real materialization requires the 4th point. So it might be even more interesting than you think. Patricia, you have a question. Let me see how. Can you unmute yourself now?
Yes, thank you so much, Marina.
Hi,
So good to be here with you. I didn't know you were doing this today, and it popped up in my email, so I'm so happy to be here, and
thank you for joining us.
And your light. I am of the Pluto Virgo generation, and I was listening to some other, people that I follow, and with the artificial intelligence ramping up, I was wondering I'm 61. I work in the healthcare industry, and it's been a rigorous 4 years of just, all of the things about the changes that are going on. And when you were speaking about the collective and then being an individual, and then your freedom and sovereignty as an individual based on, a lot of the things that I feel are being put upon humanity right now, especially in the healthcare industry, with the jab and everything. And I was just, my moon is in Cancer.
So do you have a sextile between Pluto and the moon?
My moon is in Cancer. I'm not sure. I don't know. I know.
That's fine. It's fine. Symbolically, at least you have. Yeah, symbolically you have.
My rising sign is Virgo, and so
but Tricia, in this case, it means that especially if you have a sextile between Pluto and the moon, now when Pluto is in Aquarius, it will be a finger of God configuration. Even if it's not exact, it's still, something there. So that's even more interesting. And the focal point is the transiting Pluto in Aquarius. So you need to find this balance between your Cancer moon and Pluto in Virgo. So yes, health is one great area to do that, but also I would say self-care. So how you take care of yourself, especially the first thing I would say is nutrition. That's the first thing I would recommend you to make some kind of conscious changes related to your diet or anything. I don't know, you can consult with someone, you can make your own choices, but that's the first thing I would recommend you. And it can have like multiplying impact on you. I mean, it can trigger some other important transformations within you. So don't be afraid of this. We are all going through changes, yes, absolutely. But life equals change. If there is no change, everything is going down. So we can either embrace it or we can try to resist it and then need to face it again. So yeah, it can also be a very interesting period. And it would depend, of course, on other things. So yeah, depending on the other positions.
Right. Well, I just thank you. And I wanted to hear what your thoughts are about, the artificial intelligence being so put out now, because of the Pluto being in Aquarius, and, robotics changing the way we see things in the world, and changing, the loss of jobs possibly to the artificial intelligence. I don't, do you see a lot of that maybe happening with the astrology?
Well, that is something that honestly is unpredictable.
What?
That is something which is unpredictable.
Right, right.
And that is the main conflict or fear we have with the AI. Exactly this, that it could become uncontrollable.
Right.
Because if it's under control, it's not a problem usually. The main fear people have is if it can turn into something uncontrollable, but that in its essence is unpredictable. You see, that's the kind of like a paradox. My honest belief is that, like, on this level, I cannot say honestly. There might be, we should be prepared for surprises. There will definitely be changes. But what I believe, and in my soul, I know, is that there is a higher principle. There is something higher than us as individuals, us as humanity, the technology that we can create, even the AI, which at certain point might become maybe even, I don't know, stronger, smarter than us. But there is something higher, which is above all of that. And this higher, whatever we will call it, power, intelligence, will not let things to go, in a chaotic way, or there is some kind of higher control. And I'm saying this in the good way. I'm saying this, there are principles, spiritual principles, which are higher than the astrological. There are sometimes people ask this question, can we become independent of the planets, kind of like rise above this so the planets don't affect us? And hypothetically, for individuals, and those are like very, very, very rare people, it's possible. But even if you kind of like outgrow this, there will be something else after that, which is higher. So we are always responsible. We are always affected by something higher than us. And there are higher things than the astrology world, than the stars. And this higher level is, I think, also mindful, or what, I don't know what the verb is here.
A loving principle. The loving.
Yeah, you can also call it like this. Yeah, I don't know what are
That's what
the
I would
words.
call a loving principle of,
Yeah. Yes.
and it is freedom to choose in our free will. I mean, and
Yes.
then, the other thing I wanted to ask you was about the solar flares. What are your thoughts on that astrologically?
About what?
The solar flares, the energy of the sun and the flares that, come to the earth, and
That's not astrology related. So honestly, I'm not really an expert, so I cannot comment on that. So
okay.
it's just
Well,
not part of my specialty. So I'm.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, and I appreciate this. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Thank you for the question. Also, if there are other questions, you can ask them in the chat, or if someone wants to ask a question, you can do it here. There is one more about Aquarius rising people. Well, of course, you will be affected as well, or they will be affected as well, significantly. And it's about, again, a very, very serious transformation, but also in how we connect to the world. The ascendant, it's like the rising point. It's where the energy also is going, like where kind of like life is entering, the life force is entering through this point. So this is our main point of connection with the outside world. So for people who have rising Aquarius, that's one of the main things to focus on, how you connect to the world, to your own reality, to your closest environment, or to any other environment overall, and to expect transformations, and I would say even to pursue them. So that's very, very briefly. With the other aspect or planetary aspect combinations, I would recommend you to pay closer attention to exact aspects. For example, people with Dominica is asking about Sagittarius ascendant. I would say for those, like the other aspects or the other ascendants, we really need to pay attention to the exact degree. So yeah, it will be somewhere around those, within this 20-year period. But it's also about some kind of transformation, but you need to explore, like, what is Pluto doing from the position where it is right now and so on. But if Pluto is triggering your ascendant, the theme is the same. Again, how I connect to the world around me. How do I express myself? The sun in the first degree of Leo. One of the best ways I would recommend is energy work. Pluto is about energy work. And again, the thing that I have found that works the best is GSR. And this is a method which you can also learn to use on your own for yourself. So that's my main recommendation. If you have Pluto transits, especially if they're intense, but all kinds of transits, some kind of energy technique to learn to work with energies, which of course will not apply to everyone, but those who feel called, or if that resonates with you, then my recommendation is GSR. Here we have some other very specific questions, so it's a bit if the sun is Pluto sun 29 degrees, so it's a bit difficult for me to answer to such specific questions without looking at the whole chart, especially when you're giving me combinations. It's the sun at 29 degrees in Scorpio. Well, that's in 20 years. Honestly, I think that for now, maybe you don't need to bother that much, because what we will say now in 20 years may sound in a very different way. Hi, Rhonda. What is GSR? GSR is a method, a technique, which works with your inner states and energies and transforms them. And those are the energies that define everything, our thoughts, our behavior, first of all, our feelings, of course, and all of them are coming from the family system. So this is something that we can change, and we do change it, and you can use it for absolutely everything. I mean, all kinds of problems you want to resolve, all kinds of, it could be negative emotions, it could be difficult relationships, it could be money issues, it could be anything at all. So I will make another session and I will share with you my path, my experience, my recommendations, if you are willing to transform yourself, if you are searching for a method that would allow you to work on yourself. Okay. I'm waiting if there are any last questions or comments. I want to thank you all also for joining me. It's a big shift. So, by the way, those few days, like the past few days, I would say the next couple of days are really, really intense because the sun is also together with Pluto. So they both moved from Capricorn to Aquarius. And it's like, the sun is bringing even more light to this whole shift. So if you feel a bit somehow, I don't know, strange, something is too intense, or it's also normal. And if you are willing to also continue this journey, and if you feel like you want to be part of our academy and community, and you want us to keep having interesting explorations and adventures, you are more than welcome to join me. Again, the link will be somewhere below the video. I will also send you an email later. And make sure to check the different options we are offering if you feel ready to either dive deeper into astrology, or your own chart and yourself and your own life path and experience, or if you are also ready for those transformations and you want to commit to some kind of goal or direction, or you want to develop something in your life, then you will find what you need as well. So thank you, and I will see you soon in our online environment.